If you've ever watched Shed and Buried, then you already know Sam Lovegrove, the quiet genius with a greasy jumpsuit and a love for all things vintage. While Henry Cole brought the energy, Sam brought the know-how. Together, they turned old sheds into treasure hunts. But after a few seasons, something changed. Sam slowly vanished from the screen. No goodbye, no explanation. Fans were left wondering, did he leave the show? Was there drama behind the scenes? Or did life just take a different turn? Join us as we dig into what really happened to Sam Lovegrove and where he is now. A boy who loved machines. Sam Lovegrove didn't grow up with cameras around him. His story began in the United Kingdom, where he was raised by his parents. He was always curious, and what really caught his attention were machines, especially motorcycles. In school, Sam was good at subjects like maths and physics. He later went on to study mechanical engineering at Oxford Brookes University. He didn't just pass, he graduated with honors. But long before university, Sam was already deep into learning with his hands. As a young boy, Sam would spend hours working on motorcycles. He loved taking them apart and putting them back together. It wasn't just a hobby, it was a way of life. People around him started noticing how skilled he was. His hard work and love for machines helped him grow into a talented mechanic. This passion opened doors for him in the motorcycle world, and slowly, his name began to matter in the engineering scene. But Sam wasn't chasing fame. He simply wanted to fix bikes and do what he loved. That quiet passion would soon take him somewhere unexpected, onto television screens across the country. From the shed to the spotlight. Sam Lovegrove's life changed when he teamed up with Henry Cole. Both shared a deep love for vintage machines. That bond brought them together on a TV show called Shed and Buried. In the show, the two traveled around the UK, digging through old sheds and barns. They searched for hidden gems, rusty motorcycles, old cars, even tractors and boats. Many of these had been forgotten for years, but Sam had the skills to bring them back to life. Fans quickly fell in love with the show. Henry brought the charm, and Sam brought the tools. The pair made a perfect team. Sam became known as the Bike Whisperer because of how smoothly he fixed up old bikes. He didn't talk too much, but when he worked, people watched in awe. One fan-favorite part of the show was seeing Sam turn dusty, broken-down bikes into working beauties. He didn't show off, he just let his hands do the talking. And that made people like him even more. Sam's TV journey didn't stop with Shed and Buried. He also worked on other shows like Time Shift, Junk and Disorderly, and Find It, Fix It, Drive It. But Shed and Buried stayed special. It showed his true skill and easygoing nature. In each episode, they found something new, fixed it up, and sold it for a neat profit. But more than money, it was about love for the craft. Sam once said, "It's not just about making them work again, it's about giving them a second life." And just when viewers thought they knew everything about him, Sam quietly stepped away from the spotlight. But before we take a look at the why part, let's take a closer look at the series itself. Season 1 of Shed and Buried. In March 2015, Shed and Buried hit the screen, and fans instantly fell in love with the mix of machines, friendship, and good old-fashioned bartering. Henry Cole and Sam Lovegrove took viewers across the UK, going from Cornwall to Oxfordshire in the very first episode. Sam, often called the Engine Whisperer, impressed viewers with how he could bring even the rustiest engine back to life. In episode 2, they stopped in sunny Buckinghamshire, where they found old engines and rare petrol cans. But, as always, the big question was, can they find something worth restoring and selling? A week later, in Surrey, they met Greg, whose sheds had a preserved motorbike and even a strange automotive sculpture. Sam's eyes lit up every time he came across something mechanical. They returned to Cornwall in episode 4 and met a collector with sheds that looked more like a transport museum. There were penny farthings, lights, and even a guard rabbit named Buster. Then it was back to Oxfordshire in episode 5, where the boys dug up motoring memorabilia and rare stationary engines. Sam was clearly in his element. Episode after episode, the adventures continued. They explored a surf shack in Cornwall, climbed around sheds on Bodmin Moor, and met Roy in Red Ruth, whose sheds were filled to the brim. In Hampshire, they were surprised to find plenty of Japanese bikes. Then, in the heart of Oxfordshire, they found all kinds of weird and rare cars. From the west coast of Cornwall to boneyard-like sheds in Oxfordshire, Sam and Henry were on a roll. At Norton George's place in Somerset, the duo couldn't believe how much stuff one person could own. And in Hertfordshire, their haggling didn't go as planned, adding a bit of drama to the fun. With each episode, viewers saw more than just machines. They saw Sam's deep knowledge and calm, steady approach. Whether it was tractors, cars, or old tools, he always had a plan, and his quiet charm kept people watching. As the season continued, Sam and Henry took the audience deeper into the world of forgotten vehicles. They visited the Cotswolds, where they found stationary engines, farming gear, and odd collections of memorabilia. Sam always had a way of spotting value in things most people would overlook. In West Sussex, they went behind the scenes at a well-known bike shop. Sam's face lit up when he found old bike parts hidden in corners and attics. In Herefordshire, the sheds were packed with engines, autogyros, and strange vehicles. Sam didn't blink. He just got to work, figuring out what was worth saving. Next, they drove to Gloucestershire, where a farm full of animals also had vintage farming equipment lying around. Then in Suffolk, they walked into a barn bursting with rare vehicles, tractors, mopeds, even push bikes. It was like a museum, only everything was for sale. Their last few stops in Season 1 included a visit to Whitney, where they met Les, a model builder with unusual items. Every episode brought something new, and Sam was always ready to get his hands dirty. His calm, no-nonsense attitude balanced out Henry's high energy, making them the perfect pair. Whether they were hunting for vintage limousines or rusty scooters, Sam showed his skills, and fans couldn't get enough of it. People tuned in each week just to see what the duo would dig up next, and what Sam could fix. Season 2, back on the road. Season 2 kicked off in May 2016, and this time, the boys were back in Cornwall. In the first episode, they visited a windswept farm, where they uncovered cars, tractors, and even a rare German scooter. Sam was in familiar territory: cold wind, dirty sheds, and engines that needed saving. The second episode took them to East Sussex. Chris, the collector they met, had hot rods, old trucks, and tiny bikes hidden away. Sam looked right at home, surrounded by American iron, as they called it. As always, Henry brought the jokes, while Sam got straight to the point. Then it was back to Cornwall in episode 3, this time to visit a man named Peter Bullen. His sheds were packed with everything from jeeps to trial cars, and even something called a tarmac thumper. The choices were endless, but Sam's sharp eye helped them decide what to buy. In the next episode, they met the Queen's armorer, Terry English. His sheds had vintage British cars, bikes, and some truly rare memorabilia. Sam moved slowly and carefully, making sure nothing went unnoticed. His love for machines was clear in every scene. As the second season moved on, Sam and Henry kept the surprises coming. In episode 5, they met Steve and Jack, whose sheds were packed with classic bikes and limos, including one that once belonged to Eva Peron. Sam admired the craftsmanship and gave a rare smile, then it was off to Yorkshire. There, they met Dick Craven, who possibly had the biggest motorcycle collection the show had seen so far. Sam's quiet joy was visible as he explored the 1920s, flat tanker, and a vintage police bike. Next came a visit to the New Forest in Hampshire. Their host was Stumpy, a lover of all things American. His collection had rare bicycles, classic sportsters, and flashy saloon cars. Sam focused on what he knew best, figuring out what could run again with just a bit of care. Throughout all these episodes, Sam stayed the same, He wasn't loud or showy, he didn't rush, but when it came to engines, his hands did all the talking. Fans loved that about him. "It's not just about the money," he once said. "It's about saving a piece of history." With each shed and every barn, the team showed us that even the most forgotten items had stories to tell. And Sam Lovegrove, steady, skilled, and always thoughtful, was the one to bring those stories back to life. Chasing classics across the map. Season 2 of Shed and Buried continued with the same winning formula. Henry Cole and Sam Lovegrove driving around the UK, uncovering hidden treasures in sheds and barns. In Episode 8, the two landed in Buckinghamshire. They met Alan, a trucker with a love for Harley-Davidsons, rare stationary engines, and enough memorabilia to fill an auction house. Sam's eyes lit up at the sight of the old engines, while Henry couldn't stop staring at the vintage bikes. Then came the Midlands, where they visited Patrick Walker, a skilled bike builder. Patrick's sheds were filled with rare motorcycles covered in dust sheets. But the biggest surprise wasn't on wheels, it was what he kept hidden in his freezer. Every visit seemed to bring something unexpected, and Sam was always ready to take it apart and figure out what could be saved. In Lancashire, they met Miles, a true petrolhead. His sheds had everything from vintage bikes to old American cars, but not everything was up for sale. That's where Sam's calm approach helped. He didn't push, he just pointed out what was worth fixing. And more often than not, they struck a deal. One of the most cheerful stops was the episode titled Plowman's. They explored several sheds on a single property and found a vintage bike and a stationary engine, all for under £50. Sam knew they had scored big that day, but the journey didn't slow down. In another episode, they found themselves surrounded by tractors, some well-kept, others buried in weeds. Sam was focused as always, walking through the field and picking out the hidden gems. He didn't need shiny paint to see potential. Next, they visited a shed in the southwest. It was packed with everything, so much that they couldn't decide on just one thing. So, they left with a handful of items. Sam, as usual, was happy to fix whatever they picked. In Cornwall again, they saw something rare: early 1900s steam-powered cars. These were real vintage machines. Sam examined every detail, while Henry hoped to take one for a spin. The finds were getting more unique, and the repairs more exciting. One stop in Somerset had Mark and his priceless motorbike collection, Matchlesses, Sunbeams, and Martinsides, but the bikes were too valuable to touch. "Our tongues were hanging out," Henry joked. Sam, though, stayed quiet, taking it all in. Later, they visited Barry in Suffolk. His collection of sidecars caught Sam's attention immediately while Henry looked at petrol pumps. They each had their own favorites, but it was Sam who knew exactly what could be brought back to life. Stacks of engines, shelves of stories. The duo headed to Lowestoft next, where they met Charlie. His collection had everything: cars, bikes, engines, even suitcases. It was like walking into a maze of stories. Henry and Sam had a real problem: too many choices. But somehow, they always found something special. Down in Devon, they explored a large country house full of bikes and cars. Sam walked through piles of vehicles, focused as ever. "They're everywhere," he said. But it wasn't just about buying, it was about finding something that still had life in it. In East Anglia, they met Nick, who was mad about Morris Minors, but he also loved British and Japanese bikes and vintage bicycles. Sam spotted a bike that needed serious work, and that's when he got excited. To him, a challenge meant opportunity. Then they stopped in Oxfordshire, Henry's home area. They met three brothers with containers full of bikes and trucks. Sam had his eyes on a motorbike, but Henry was already distracted by a different item. "He always sees something else," Sam once joked. Back in Devon, they met Rodney, whose workshop was filled with petrol pumps, signs, and rusty British cars. He didn't want to part with many things, but Sam and Henry knew how to work their charm. After some good talk, a deal was made. In Worcestershire, they met Adrian, a farmer. At first, the bikes in the shed didn't excite Sam, but that changed quickly when they discovered a four-wheeled beauty sitting in the field. Suddenly, Sam was all in. Up in North Yorkshire, they visited Paul, a Triumph motorcycle fan. Most of his bikes were too expensive. But then, in the dark corner of a shed, they spotted something more affordable and just as interesting. That's where Sam really came alive. Their next visit was to Ray's shop. They went there to sell a bike, but ended up discovering more things to rummage through. It was a fun day, but this time they left with less than they'd hoped. Still, every trip added something to their journey. Near Preston, they met Graham, a man who loved military gear and American collectibles. It was a strange mix, but it worked. Sam and Henry found something odd but worth trying, and they took it for a test. They also visited John's garage in the Lancashire countryside. It was full of trinkets, military vehicles, and even a lovely old petrol pump. Sam, once again, looked past the rust and focused on what could be saved. Then came the big trip across the Irish Sea. In Northern Ireland, they explored massive collections. They met Gordon and were surrounded by army vehicles, tractors, and hidden Land Rovers. Sam was in heaven. "There's more here than we can take," Henry said, half laughing. Their final episodes included a stop near Windsor Castle. Roy had motorcycles galore. Henry and Sam were both thrilled. Then, they returned to Northern Ireland one last time, where they found vintage cars, modern motors, and a Sunbeam Talbot that caught Sam's attention. That marked the end of their journey for the season, but by now it was clear. Wherever there was rust, dust, and something old with wheels, Sam Lovegrove would be right at home. Season 3 rolls in. After a long wait, Shed and Buried returned in 2021 with Season 3. Henry Cole and Sam Lovegrove were back behind the wheel, ready to dig through more sheds filled with old treasures. In the first episode, they visited the Cotswolds to meet Ben, who ran the largest sidecar manufacturing shop in the UK. It was a perfect start, as Sam had always shown great skill when it came to sidecars and vintage engineering. Then the team moved to Somerset, where they met Nick, someone who had been collecting cars since 1963. That's nearly 60 years of collecting. Sam could barely believe the size of the collection. And when they reached Sussex, they visited Jeff, a dealer of second-hand milk floats. That might sound odd, but in Sam's world, every machine told a story. Their trip to Hertfordshire brought more surprises. Dick and Frank had a mix of all sorts of items in their collection. Some were rare, some were odd, and all of it caught Sam's eye. In Oxfordshire, Mel and Aid welcomed them into a space filled with vintage tractors and cars. Sam moved slowly, soaking in every detail. Later in Devon, Sam and Henry had a mission: to buy automobilia for a client. They searched through Doug's place, and you could tell Sam was in his element. A few episodes later, they finally gained access to a collection they had been eyeing for 8 years. At Jerry's in Oxfordshire, the wait was worth it. "You couldn't make this stuff up," Henry said. Sam just nodded, focused on the work. Then, in Devon again, they entered Richard's scrapyard. It wasn't neat, but to Sam, it was perfect. Hidden between rust and mess were items worth saving. After that, Worcestershire brought them to Mike's, a man with an incredible lineup of Ford vehicles. Sam took his time, carefully choosing what could be restored. They ended Season 3 in Dorset with Nicky. His collection had bikes, cars, and tractors. Sam walked through the space like it was his second home, and with each find, he quietly imagined the repairs it would take. Bigger collections, bigger surprises. Season 4. Season 4 aired in 2022, and it started strong in Paignton, Devon. Henry and Sam visited Simon and Olivia, a father and daughter with a shed packed with American classics. From bikes to push bikes, it was all there. Sam took his time, carefully inspecting every engine, every frame. Even Jellybean, the dog, came along for the ride. Next, they explored another Americana treasure chest in Cornwall, owned by Curly and Ian. After looking through the classic motors, Sam surprised Henry with a decision no one saw coming. Henry laughed. "You're full of surprises today." Sam smiled, saying nothing. As always, in Birmingham, the National Motorcycle Museum finally opened its doors to them after 15 years of waiting. Sam was respectful and focused, taking in every detail of the rare motorcycles. Then in Leicestershire, they met Eddie Roberts, a former bike racer. The visit felt personal. Eddie's collection was filled with racing memories, and Sam appreciated the engineering behind each bike. In Herefordshire, they explored a farmer's collection. While Henry fell for a tractor, Sam's eye was on something totally different, an antique bird scarer. "It's not all about engines," he said with a grin. And that's what made Sam so special. In Worcestershire, they found themselves in a barn full of automobilia. It looked like heaven, but the real challenge came during the negotiation. Sam kept calm while Henry did the talking. In Yorkshire, they came across a vintage mono-wheel and a plane-turned car. It was odd, but right up their alley. In Wakefield, Baz showed them American motors and more. Sam walked through like a detective, spotting details that most people would miss. Then, in Uttoxeter, they found a shed full of vintage motorcycles and rare memorabilia. "This is more than a shed," Henry said. "It's a museum." Their last stop was in Somerset, where John had a stunning collection of WRY-2 vehicles. Sam didn't say much, but his face showed how impressed he was. For someone who had seen it all, that meant something. Every shed, every barn, every quiet moment. Sam kept showing us that old machines still had life left in them. However, after that, he disappeared from the series. Sam Lovegrove takes the wheel in Find It, Fix It, Drive It. After Shed and Buried became a hit, Sam Lovegrove didn't stop there. He teamed up once again with his longtime friend Henry Cole for another show. Find It, Fix It, Drive It. This series followed a familiar yet exciting idea. Find rare or broken old vehicles, bring them back to life, and take them on a ride across the UK. For fans who loved Sam's calm confidence in the shed, this show gave them even more to enjoy. In this series, Sam and Henry went after everything from Uncle Bunt choppers to off-road Land Rovers. But this time, they weren't just restoring. They were also putting their hard work to the test, driving these vehicles across countryside roads, fields, and sometimes even racetracks. Sam focused on the technical part, carefully fixing the engines, frames, and parts. Henry, on the other hand, couldn't wait to jump in and take it for a spin. The chemistry between the two friends was just as strong here. Henry's excitement balanced out Sam's steady, no-fuss attitude. Sam never needed to say much. His work spoke for him. Viewers enjoyed seeing how he turned rusted-out wrecks into running classics. "It's not just about the engine," Sam once said. "It's about making it work the way it should." And that's what kept fans watching. The show aired in 2019 for one season with 10 episodes. Even though it didn't continue, it left a mark. For many fans, seeing Sam in action, finding, fixing, and driving, was enough to make it one of their favorites. But soon after that, people began to notice something strange back on Shed and Buried. His sudden absence from Shed and Buried. In the later part of Shed and Buried Season 4, something changed. Sam Lovegrove was no longer on the show. Fans noticed right away. No calm voice in the corner, no quiet fixes, no Sam. For a while, there was no answer. People kept asking, "Where is Sam? Is he okay?" In March 2022, Henry Cole finally posted a video. He said that Sam had been unwell. It was some kind of bug, and he needed time to rest. That gave fans some relief, but there weren't many details. It wasn't clear if Sam was coming back or if he had stepped away for good. Even though he wasn't on the screen, friendship between Sam and Henry remained strong. Later that year, in November 2022, Henry visited Sam at his home in Cornwall. They spent time talking, laughing, and sharing updates. That visit was filmed and shared online, giving fans a rare look into Sam's current life. He still had the same passion for vintage machines, and he was still working on them in his private workshop. His fans missed him on the show, but they were glad to see that he was doing well. It showed that while Sam might have stepped back from TV for a while, he never left the world of old machines behind. Speaking of which, long before Sam became a TV name, he was already a top engineer. One of his biggest roles was with Brous Superior, a luxury British motorcycle company. Sam worked there as chief engineer. His job was building some of the finest custom-made bikes in the world, and he did it well. The Brous Superior SS100, one of the most respected motorcycles ever built, was one of the projects Sam worked on. He helped design and build it, making sure every part met the highest standards. People in the industry knew Sam not just from television, but from what he created with his own hands. His skills didn't stop with bikes. Sam also worked on sports cars. He was part of the development team for the Honda NSX and the Corvette C7 Le Mans race car. These were high-performance vehicles built for speed and competition. Sam's work focused on parts like suspension systems and gearboxes, important things that need to be just right. He also worked with Gemini accident repair centers, designing car parts like suspension and gearbox systems. That kind of work takes deep knowledge and patience. Sam brought both. His background as a mechanical engineer was solid, and it showed in everything he did. Even though he was quiet on camera, Sam had what many would call an encyclopedic knowledge of machines. There was a reason Henry once said, "If it moves, Sam can fix it," and he meant it. Life in Cornwall, and the passion that never left. Outside of work, Sam keeps things private. He doesn't post much online and rarely shares personal details, but a few things are known. Sam is married and has 4 children, 2 sons and 2 daughters. The family lives in a farmhouse in the countryside of Cornwall. That's also where Sam keeps his workshop. In that peaceful setting, surrounded by hills and open space, Sam continues doing what he loves. He restores bikes and cars, works on personal projects, and enjoys his time away from the busy world of TV. He might be off the screen, but the machines haven't stopped coming. Sam is also into cycling and running. He takes part in charity events and enjoys staying active. It's not surprising. After all, engineering, like fitness, takes focus and endurance. Though Sam has never shared his exact net worth, it's clear he's done well. His TV work with Henry Cole, along with his engineering roles, brought both recognition and income. But to Sam, it's never been about the money. It's always been about work. The joy of fixing something that others gave up on. That's what still drives him. Fans often ask if he'll return to Shed and Buried or do more shows with Henry. So far, there's no official answer. But what's certain is that Sam Lovegrove hasn't disappeared. He's just working quietly, as always, doing what he does best, fixing the forgotten. Do you think Sam Lovegrove will ever return to Shed and Buried? Or has he closed that chapter for good? And what's your favorite moment or restoration from Sam and Henry's adventures together? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible stories from Hollywood's fascinating history. See you next time.